Someone check to see if we're up.
It shows up on mine.
You said it's up?
It's on Facebook.
Okay. Looks like we're back. Okay. It looks like we're
Yes.
Right. And it wasn't cheap either. So I was like, tragedies.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, yeah, I guess that couldn't be considered my worst one. But other than that, no. No, not really. I've always heard of like other people's because I've always been like the ear to to everybody's else's situations. So yeah, I guess that would be mine.
okay. Who did we not get to? Was it Jasmine? Jasmine. All right. What's your
Jasmine.
worst date, John? I'm sorry, Mama Pan. Well, look, we trying to work this out. We gonna work this out.
You
But
got mute, Jasmine.
I can't even hear you.
I did exactly what Marcus told me.
I told her
do.
not to mute the thing. She muted it.
I knew it. I knew she was gonna do that.
So boom. I was dating somebody, little dusty son or whatever, and he had broke his foot. So being a good girlfriend, I was, hey, we going to do whatever. I picked him up, which was at least 25 minutes away from my house. We went to the city, and this fool had the nerve to say, split check. I looked at him, I was like, I'm sorry, what? I just spent my gas coming to get your dusty, broke foot ass, and you can't pay for my little burger? And he thought he was coming back to my house? I took him right back home with his dusty little roommate, and I went home.
Was this pre-Uber days?
No. I was just trying to be a good girlfriend, get his old little depressed ass out the house because he was in his feelings because his foot was broken.
Marcus, what was your first? You over here look like you got a lot going on, sir. You all right? Hello?
I'm working. I'm trying to get this stream working well to make sure that everything's going. Hopefully you guys are seeing it better. If you're having a hard time, switch over to YouTube. YouTube seems to be working very well. If you're having a hard time on Facebook, it's something about Facebook is trying to take me out. It wants to talk about football all night. But if you're having problems on the Facebook, please the Facebook. I sound old.
On the Facebook.
If you haven't
on that face tube.
On the face too. But if you're having problems, please go over to YouTube and watch there. We definitely appreciate you guys hanging in with us and while we try to fix this. My worst date, man, had some interesting ones. I guess mine was probably, it wasn't actually even a date. I was actively dating the girl, and she stood me up for a date. And basically, I ended up going basically on the date by myself because I spent a lot of money on these reservations, and I was gonna go. Like, I was gonna go to this restaurant. It was a brand new restaurant. It had just opened. And so I go. She decided to go hang out with one of her friends. Well, when I went, this was in Little Rock. There was a museum across the street that had one of those dinosaur exhibits going on with the animatronic dinosaurs doing all. And the little kid in me got a little interested, so I went over there. There was some big ball happening, so a lot of people dressed up. And I was wearing like a polo and some khakis or whatever. And they were like, oh, they were like drunk as I don't know what. They're like, you want us to take your picture, dude, in front of the dinosaur? I'm like, yeah, I get my picture taken, not thinking that it's going to look funny, somebody else taking my picture, and I posted it on social media. Well, she saw it. Automatically through her mind thinks, oh, he's with some girl taking his picture. Soon as I get in my car, like literally as soon as I get back in my car, I see this big white truck come flying like over the medians, like through the parking lot, over the like the little actually like the little bumpers that stop the parking, like flying over those, pulls up beside my car, and they're like, "Where's she at?" I'm like, "Who? Like the one who took the picture, like the one who did." Like I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, oh no, she out here. So they looking, like talking about some pop the trunk. Why would I hide a girl in the trunk? That just sounds weird.
Oh, wait, did she stand you up? She
Stood me
and
up,
she
but
worried about
yeah,
you?
but she came out with her friend, her mama, and her daddy to come find out. Well, yeah, crazy. So I'm like,
Trolling. Crazy.
You dodged a bullet.
I did.
God bless.
And so I ended up going to the guy. He's a white guy, really cool dude. I was like, "Hey, sir, do you remember that picture that you took of me?" He was like, "Yeah, did it come out bad? Because we can take it again. We can do it right now." And then it looked real stupid. And that was just the end of that relationship. I was like,
Nothing to her. Get out my business. I'm calling them.
I would have took another picture.
I would have talked to
Talk to him.
oh man. Oh, but let's get to our main topic tonight. We had a little problems with little issues with the stuff, so let's get down to business. Y'all know we've been doing the Dusty Grape Award for stuff. And this week's Dusty Grape. How would you guess it? Hold up. Who is Hip Hop Baby 2007? Who is that? Who's Hip Hop Baby 2007? Wait, she stood you up and then went full show did. Yeah, went full crazy. So I don't know who Hip Hop Baby 2007 is, but
that's MySpace name.
Right.
It was obviously made in 2007. It was.
Hey, to whoever it is, it just gave me a good nostalgia.
But yeah. So I think we're still having a stream issue. What is going on?
Are we? Oh yeah, we're frozen. I don't know.
Oh, stream.
It's racism. That's what I'm calling.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Steven, give us an A and B selection while we play.
Sing to us.
Y'all gonna cut a check?
Ignore the name. I was 13 when I made this. All right, we're gonna push and try to get this out.
It's like trying to work.
It's trying.
Now it's working.
Okay. We're gonna talk about Texas because Texas is just out here doing ridiculous things, and we're absolutely sick of it. Right now they have a Haitian crisis. You got Haitians living on the bridges and whatnot, and so we want to take the time to talk about that because I think it's important. One of the things I read today on it was a site. Let me make sure I quote it correctly. It's on migrationpolicy.org. So it's like 10,000 Haitian migrants right now running through Texas, trying to get, away from all the oppression and hardships coming up through Mexico. But after reading this article, it really made me mad and just showed the actual problem. There are 57,000 illegal Canadian immigrants in the United States. Is the stream stopped again?
It's back up.
Okay. There are 57,000 illegal Canadian immigrants in the United States. And I think that's funny because I don't see any border patrol on horses or, doing any of the things that we see in Texas. And it makes me wonder what's the difference between illegal immigration from there or illegal immigration from down there. And to me, it's just skin color. There's no other way I can put it. It's simply you're black or brown, you get turned around, basically. But if
That's a bar.
Oh, bars.
That's a bar.
Bars.
Come on.
Bars. Sorry. Thanks for letting me know that there's a small interruption on YouTube. I don't know what's going on. I think the NFL is trying to take me out for competing on Mondays. So that's what it is. But yeah, I think it's just being a fact of being a person of color. And for America to be so great in a land of immigrants, it's so funny how if they come from the South, it's all of a sudden a crisis. So Janelle, go ahead and tell us how you feel.
The thing is that I was shocked to see it for 3 seconds, and then I just wasn't shocked anymore. I was just I feel like those people were like excited to do it. It was almost like, yeah, let's do what the good old men did back in the day. I don't know. But what really bothered me was the fact that it doesn't matter what, and I'm just going to be real and I'm going to be transparent. And if anybody has a problem, that's perfectly fine. It does not matter what white people do. They are incapable of holding themselves accountable for anything. I saw people in the comments saying that cannot be compared to slavery because what they're doing was towards the horses. Because when you have a horse, you have reins. They're not whips, they're called reins. And that is how you lead the horse and, you know, you discipline it. And they were saying they were using it for the horses. And I'm just like, I know y'all are looking at the same thing I'm looking at. This isn't like the dress thing where one is a different color or like, what do you see? Everyone could see different things. It was very evident that they were causing great harm to these people. And yet the same people saying that, oh, it's not modern day slavery, blah, 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 are the same ones that say that this nation is like the greatest nation to be in, but y'all don't want nobody to come here. So I just feel like at this point, I'm not surprised by racist people being racist. How can we like get this thing taken care of? I'm not surprised at racism anymore. I'm ready for a solution. I'm really ready for solutions.
Okay, Erica.
I agree with a lot of what Janelle was saying. I think though the media a lot of times tries to give us inflammatory images though. Like for a long time I didn't until I like actually like read myself, like I didn't realize they weren't whips, they were just the reins to the horse. They didn't have actual whips on horses. And that's the image they were trying to give us. They were trying to give us images of you know, white men with whips hitting black migrants. So like I do try to keep that in mind too. Like the media sometimes they cherry pick what they want us to be outraged about and when they want us to be outraged, you know, because this is something that like has been going on for a very long time, but they pick and choose when they want to show us these images. But I think this comes down to like which the point that you brought up, what Janelle said too, is that like black body migrants and immigrants are treated differently than white body. I think that it just boils down again to, you know, white supremacy. Like everything else, all the problems in this country, the way black and brown bodies are treated goes back to white supremacy. So I think that that's what the focus is on. Like we're just not being treated equally. I do think that like, you know, government has to have some kind of order in how they let people come into a country. Like we have like which government job was said too is that structure. Like black body in our society migrants I get that treated differently, but the way we're treated than white body. I think that we can do it in a humane way. I feel like black bodies aren't treated humanely. So
I agree. Stephen.
Yeah, definitely. But and also what I might think, and I may be playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, but some people will argue that you know, coming from the north into the States, you know, through Canada or whatever, is a little bit easier because up there is a little bit, the north in the United States is a bit more developed than, you know, those rural parts of like Texas and that Mexico line and all the way, you know, all the way down south. And, you know, me being from the South, you know, we always have this stigma of being so underdeveloped than those of like, you know, up north in like New York and Chicago and Detroit and, you know, Philly and, you know, all those different places. So not only do we get the stigma of the South being underdeveloped, but also undereducated as well. So we don't know any better. And, you know, and it's also, if I can say, a bit easier, you know, to get in to the States through Canada because I know Jasmine, she's from Detroit and Canada is just across the bridge, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, but all of that notwithstanding, you know, that doesn't qualify what is happening, you know, right now. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, a lot of white people might use that argument, you know, for that, because even when the first immigrants started coming over here, they initially willingly came from, you know, Europe and, you know, all those, you know, different places. So it's automatic that, you know, that connection was willingly established. And I keep saying willingly because we came here unwillingly. So we just have to be sure that line is made clear. But I said all of that to say that still doesn't make what is happening right. So going back to our thesis statement, it's all about color.
Okay. I got a comment from Phil. He said, "Is it Texas or is it policy? Like, if this happened on the Cali-Mexico border, would the same thing happen?" I think it's different in Cali because Southern California is very populated, and Southern Texas is not. Southern Texas is wide open. Like, there's so much. People really don't realize how huge Texas is. Like,
Texas is huge.
Humongous. Like, it's a big state. Like, I think it's something like Dallas to Chicago is closer than Dallas to El Paso. Like, that's how large the state is. I mean, it was its own country at one point. So let's not forget that. And I think, like, where in California, you have San Diego right there across the border and things like that. In Texas, no, it's just open land. So you're not going to get seen. It's easier to get through. Like, you're not going to get, there's no real radar. So people rather take their chance there than in a California or in Arizona. So I think it's not so much as the policy, it's just the geography really that's making that possible. Jasmine.
So here's my thing with this. Like, just like everyone else, I did see all of the photos, of course. I was outraged at the photos of the patrol on horses. I literally cried watching, well, not watching, but seeing the photos of the people with children, holding them, carrying them on their backs through water. And I hate that, literally, like, America, we're literally a country of fucking hypocrites, and excuse my language. But when a hurricane or something happens in Haiti, oh, it's pray for Haiti. Pray for Haiti. We need to do this for Haiti. But as soon as those people try to seek asylum or go somewhere where they know they can probably make a better life for themselves, because with the living conditions that they're currently in are not good, now it's, we don't want them here. Oh, we're scared to have them here. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They're literally families trying to get out of homes that they no longer have because they were destroyed by an earthquake. And y'all are literally treating them like animals.
I think it's funny that we say pray for them too, not realizing we could be the answer to those prayers, but we don't want
Thank
to.
you.
Talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Everybody wants to say, pray for this country, pray for these people, but nobody actually does anything about it. And then when someone actually does and puts their money where their mouth is, oh, they're doing this for clout. Or they're actually doing something while you're sitting in front of your computer talking about pray for Haiti, change your profile picture to the Haitian flag.
it's just
Actions speak louder than words.
And we sit here and say, God bless America. God blessed America, has been blessing America for a long time off the backs of brown people, black people, every other person. And it's so funny that you don't want to give any of those blessings back to other people. Like, it's just hypocritical at the end of the day.
But they'll go to those countries and adopt their children, but they won't let the people in to actually build
which is
a life.
also problematic because then children end up dying.
Yep. Let me read this comment. It's so absolute hypocritical. They just can't understand that type of tragedy with no help. And we have such a surplus of everything here. Like, even on the days when we complain, we have so much. And it's created a problem where we can't empathize. Well, not all of us, but a lot of people cannot empathize with that. Go, Janelle.
So the other day, I was at the store with Zaire, and we were walking to the car, and there's a humongous crosswalk. I said this on my Insta stories. There's a huge crosswalk in front of Walmart. Humongous. Like, you can't miss it. I'm sorry, in front of Target. And two people in two big vans almost drove into us. And it made me think of this documentary I saw a long time ago on how there are a lot of white people who literally can't comprehend that we are human beings and we exist with them. Like, they cannot see us as actual human beings with bones and blood and brains and feelings, and they cannot fathom that we exist. That's why when we're walking down the street, they'll walk into us without moving, because it's almost like some type of mental disability where they can't see us. And I feel like that's how they're treating these Haitian immigrants. Like, they cannot understand that these are human beings. I don't think that a lot of white people can comprehend that we are actual, like, humans. Like I said, I don't understand why, but I just don't think they can.
Or they don't even acknowledge us if it's not convenient for them.
Correct. Yep.
But they want to take our culture, they want to take our music, they want to take our fashion, they want to do all of that. But when it's like something dire or something that actually means like something like this that is of grave concern, I'm like, oh, let's just push them back. You know, let's love to hate them. That's what that's what it really is.
Another comment, right? Why only God bless America? Why not God bless all? Because we think we think we're the only country God cares about is this country, and we're one of the youngest. Really,
he's sick of us.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, like he's quit saying, y'all don't get it yet. Corona, more Corona. Like y'all don't get it yet.
More Corona.
Like,
it's crazy. But it's just sad to me. It's the fact that you can't have heart for someone holding their baby above flood water. Like, nobody goes through that just for the hell of it. Like, and that's the crazy part. Like, you don't go through that just for fun or because you just want to get here. If Haiti was great and things were going good, people wouldn't do that. They'd stay there.
And risk being with these.
They would stay there. But you go and you look at it and you see someone doing that and you can't put yourself in their shoes and realize the person I want to live next door to me. The person who would do that is the kind of person I want to live next door to me, because nothing would be impossible for that dude. Like, that's the kind of person I want next to me. If you can have no fear, I'm sure you have fear, but you can face your fear and cross a raging river to get to a place that you know hates you, but you know is still better than where you came from.
Come on,
you're the kind of neighbor I want, and that's just the way I feel. With that being said,
clap for yourself.
I get a clap for that. Yay!
Oh, that was beautiful.
I guess not. There it is. Yay! Janelle said I can clap for myself. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. But Dusty, great for you, Texas. You're dusty, and we're sick of you. Sick of you. So great to talk about because things are different, and I want to preface this by saying, in no way, shape, or form am I commenting on the parenting skills of our parents or saying that they were terrible or anything like that. I try to give everybody grace and the benefit of the doubt. They did the best they can with what they had or with what they knew, or, you know. But there's some things that could have been done better. And those are the things that we're going to talk about today. So those of you that have your parent watching, maybe, or if there's parent in the chat, please say hi. And we're gonna discuss this. So we'll start off with our guest. He was a fellow preacher's kid like me. So I think we came up a very particular way. So my question to you is, do you feel like the way you were raised was appropriate for who you are today and what you believe? Or do you feel like they had some shortcomings, and what were they?
Well, I'll say this. You know, nobody is perfect. You know, everybody's going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to make, you know, good and bad decisions. However, generally speaking, I think who I am today, how I was raised up, you know, up until now, I think what did me really good. Even though I may not have understood it, you know, back then, now as an adult is making a lot more sense now because my dad, like you said, he was a preacher. And he was also kind of like, he was strict, like he meant what he said and said what he meant. And there was like no gray areas with him. So he was like very explicit about what to do and how to do it, and all that kind of thing. But it also, I guess it added to another level, being that, oh, not only is he like this gel, so us being like the first family, we had to, we were kind of held up to this false entitlement or false kind of image that we always had to always be on. Like we couldn't, show any kind of false,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise, other people were like, oh, well, so and so, Stephen and Jennifer, they did this and blah, 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 and they supposed to be preachers' kids and all that kind of thing. And so I'm like, so I would always think that I'm regular too. Like I'm still people, or whatever, I never thought that, but what I will say is they always stress, well, pastor and lady, they always stressed to us to not ever like try to put ourselves above anybody else, or try to think that we're better than anybody else, because we're not. And but at the same time, we do have to carry ourselves with some sense of decorum, because we weren't everybody else, not just in the sense of us being PKs, but we were doing other stuff that kids our age weren't doing. Like our sister and I grew up being competitive pianists, so we could go out, Friday nights and hang out on the weekends like everybody else, even though we wanted to. No, we had competitions like Saturday mornings. We had music classes Saturday mornings. We had other things to do that everybody else didn't. And so I had plenty of talks with him, like, okay, why can I do this, why can't I do that, blah, blah, blah. And he would see me get frustrated, that I couldn't participate in a lot of the extracurricular activities that my other friends were doing, especially like that weird middle school, high school, pubescent puberty age. It's just weird. That's just like a ugly place anyway. Thank God for restoration, huh? But no, but it's one thing that pastor said to me, that, and I'll never forget this. I'll carry this with me to my grave. I was getting ready for a competition or something, and he told me, he said, don't you worry about, what other people are doing. Don't worry about what you aren't doing now. Those same people that are talking about you and doing all of this and doing X, Y, and Z are going to be the same people that's going to be asking to buy your album. And I'm like, what are you talking
Oh,
about?
that's right.
And then it didn't come into full circle until as most of y'all probably know, I sing with the Howard Gospel Choir, and we put out our Glorious God album, and it was it ended up being nominated for 2 Stellar Awards. And so as we were advertising, a lot of people back home were messaging me, people I went to middle school with and high school, was like, hey, Stephen, I see you on the cover, and da 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 da. I want to know, you just let you know that I got my copy, and da da da. And so then once those messages started coming back, I was like, oh, this is what he was talking about. Got it. Got
Mm-hmm.
it. And then even the way that, I, carry myself or whatever, like freshman year, everybody knew that I was like, I would like dress up at any given time that I want, that, whenever the opportunity presented itself. And again, that just goes back to the way, my dad brought me up. Every time I performed or something, he said, you need to always have on a jacket, shirt, and tie, like point blank, period. As far as church is concerned, get your clothes ready Saturday night. Don't wait until like waking up Sunday morning, trying to get your stuff together. You need to get your stuff together the night before.
Well, let's
So
talk
I
about.
think
Hold on.
all
Let's
of
talk about getting stuff together, because as a preacher's kid is different, but as someone who might not be a preacher's kid, getting yourself together might be a little different. So we're gonna come back to that in a second. But
yeah.
Janelle, I know it's been interesting for you now that you're a mom. Like it's kind of now you're seeing, having to raise your son, and then with the way your parents raised you. What do you think is the difference, and do you think that you were raised the way you needed to be raised?
So first I'm going to speak generally, and I'm going to say there's a big difference between my parents raising me and me raising my son because of the access I have to resources, because of social media, more people feeling comfortable thinking differently when it comes to raising their kids. I think that tradition is a very big thing, especially in the Black community, and I think that a lot of us have a lot of the same experiences. Because even not being a preacher's kid, like my father was a deacon, and my parents were very active in church, so I know like I had to act a certain way. But that's generally. So I feel like I said, I have access to resources. I have books and therapists, like so many different things that are helping me parent, and that is not something that my parents had. Personally, my parents did more than what needed to be done to raise me. They did everything they could with what they had, and they did what they knew and what they were taught. I will say that I wish two things. I wish that we had more generational wealth in our family.
Yeah.
I wish that generational wealth was spoken into me. And I also wish that I was given more room to make childlike mistakes, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Parents were so focused on protecting me and keeping me from harm that there were things that like a lot of kids got to do, as far as like, sneaking out and doing this. And like, I kind of wish I got to do that, because I did it later in college. Like, we was out there. But like I think I would have been able to handle situations a little bit better had I been given the freedom to be like, you know what, we're just going to loosen the leash a little bit and see what happens. Because a mistake may not have even been made had I been given a chance to do certain things. So yeah, those are the two things: generational wealth, and a chance to make some more minor mistakes.
Your mom said for me to get you.
Ooh.
To that, I'm just gonna say, I need her. She's my co-host, so I have to let it go, Mama. I have to let it go. Erica.
I think what you guys are all pointing out so far, like, it's so true that, like, first off, like, our parents didn't have access to the same things we have access to today. Before I criticize them, I'm gonna put that disclaimer out there. Like, they didn't have access to the things we have access to today. They didn't. Culture was different. So with the technologies that we have today, with the things that we have access to, with the awareness that we have, like, we should be able to fix the things that we weren't like taught when we were kids. And I think for my own situation, my parents are divorced. I divorced when I was a kid, and I think I would have been better if they would have married people that they wanted to stay with. So I think that, like, whenever you're having children, I think that parenthood really begins before the kids are born. And I think that's a lot of things that a lot of parents don't consider, or don't realize what they have to put in consideration with that. Like, picking a partner that you actually want to be with for life, having your finances in order before your kids are born, doing all that self-work and self-healing before your kids are getting here. Like, all of those things come before the child's actually born. And I think that that's something that, like, needs to be included in the preparing to be a parent handbook. Yeah.
I definitely agree. What was that?
I said it's in none of the books. So I definitely agree that needs to be.
Yeah. Parent, what needs to be in the book is that you become a mother before you become a mother. You become a father before you become a father. Like, before your girl is pregnant, you should be preparing to become a parent, And to do that, get your money in order, get your spirit in order, And I think that my parents are the best they could in those areas. But I think that had they would have spent more time with themselves, more time with each other, and really understood how who they are as people, it's going to impact who I am as a person. Like, I would have been better prepared for a lot of things,
Because they can subconsciously punish the child for them being ill prepared.
Yeah, exactly. Whether that was with finance, whether that was with their relationship, like, if their marriage wasn't in a good spot, don't have kids yet, work that out first, And I think that people, my parents and other parents, need to think about that, consider that.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree. Jasmine.
So there's, I don't know. So, okay, for me, it's I guess it's a bit of the same as everyone else says, but like I feel like for me, it was a lot of generational things that were passed down as far as discipline. Because with my dad's side of the family, my dad is the youngest of all the kids, and it was 8 of them. And his father passed when he was very young. So my grandmother was everything. She was the disciplinarian. She was the nurturer. So, and your 2 youngest kids are boys, and they just rambunctious and I don't know what. So of course, like they got whoopings all the time. So that kind of really came over to when we were children. And like, y'all know, I'm a very emotional person. Just imagine me as a kid. I was extremely emotional.
Child.
Okay. So, I understand having to whoop your child for certain things. Like there were certain times in my life where I was like, yeah, I deserve that whooping. I definitely did. But then there was other times where I felt like having a conversation would have sufficed. But even in that, because I got whooping so much, I didn't feel comfortable actually expressing how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that's one thing that I really wish changed, was that we actually had conversations where I could feel more open to tell you how I felt. Because I was the child that you asked me and I'm gonna sit there and cry and not really tell you, but then I go and write it down. It could, because that was the only way that I could really get what I felt out without feeling like if I say this, I'm still gonna get a whooping.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
because you don't want to
That's
seem like you talking back.
exactly.
That's going to be
Exactly.
that would be
Feelings is
my
tough.
point. So
That's a
my
big one. Like I feel like. Oh, go ahead.
my
Yeah, like
so
it's
my thing was with my dad. I was my dad's biggest fan. But being a preacher though, he was charismatic, popular in the community. Steven said, like I couldn't be like every other kid. I was expected to be, upstanding, never have any issues, always act right, perfect model what a child should be. That was the life I had to live. But my biggest thing was that disagreement. I wish disagreement didn't equal disrespect, and that was my biggest problem. My dad was very headstrong, and he had 6 headstrong boys. So it was like he had to be right. He had to be right. And it was like, even if he was wrong, or it wouldn't even necessarily be wrong. It was like, if I expressed a difference of opinion in a way that he didn't like it, or it just was so different than his opinion, sometimes he'd just get upset. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Instead of realizing, like, my son is growing up. He's coming into a mind of his own. So let him express the why he thinks the way he does. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But let me learn that. But instead, it was shut that down. My house is going to go my way, or whatever I say is the final say. I didn't like that. But also, being a preacher's kid, you live under this shadow of who your parent is to everybody else. And at certain points, you just want your dad to yourself. And you don't ever come to know yourself, because you feel like your identity is completely wrapped up in
Through
who your
them.
dad is.
Mm-hmm.
Like my only identity was I'm the preacher's kid. And so many people trying to get to your dad through you and everything like that, you fail to grow into who yourself. So literally, I didn't find out who I was until he actually died. Like he had to literally die for me to realize, oh, I have
Same
a personality.
Here.
Like I am my own person. Like people can know me because of who I am. Like it took a lot for me to come out from under that. People always have this, that like the little jokes people say, oh, you gonna preach because your daddy preach. Like, so you're already putting that on a child before they even get to realize who they are. And so I felt kind of stifled by that a little bit. And it, like I had to pretend to agree and be whatever everybody else wanted me to be. And that's how I felt. But Erica, you was gonna say something.
I think I was just gonna point out like what something you and Jasmine were saying about like your parents kind of like stifling your voice. I feel like with children, like that creates anxiety around like saying your opinion, or like I don't know. I think it's important for kids to be able to disagree with their parents, but I feel like it helps you develop your voice. Your parents can help guide that transition or that growth if they let you use your voice. But I kind of ran to similar. Like I've always kind of been outspoken, even at home. But like my mom I grew up in the church as well, so it's like certain topics were off limits. I can only have one idea on certain topics, And so like I think that does create a little bit of anxiety when I'm in the real world when I'm trying to say something that's off the cuff or off like what's normal, you know.
Okay. So let me read this comment. There are so many. This is Christina. Christina says there are so many students that come into school that feel this way. They are afraid to talk about their emotions. Um, and I think too that's kind of a product of the way our parents were raised. Like my dad grew up in the Jim Crow South. Like you had to be tough, be gritty, and deal with stuff. And I mean, born in 1937. Like I can only imagine what his life was like growing up. And he was one of 12, so I'm sure his dad taught him to be tough and you got to stand up for yourself. And so he passed that down. Well, he attempted to pass that down.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm in counseling today. But I mean, it wasn't his intention.
No.
But he did the best with what he knew. Like, and because of that, it caused a lot of trauma and a lot of suppressed feelings within me. But here's my question for you, Janelle. You said that you weren't, the leash wasn't unloosened up for you to go do things. Was there a time you ever tried to talk to, like, especially a daughter and mom, I feel like should have a special relationship. Was there a time you ever tried to talk to your mom and then just decided to say, nah, it's not even worth talking to you about this because it's not going to make me feel better or it's not going to work out for me?
My mom and I have had conversations, that for a long time, I didn't talk about a lot of things. And it wasn't necessarily because of how I was raised. I just was a child with a lot of anxiety in general. And I know that like a lot of my parents will a lot of times say like, oh, she would just be like very excited, things like that. But I definitely have anxiety. And I would get so scared to really say anything. And it wasn't always because of how I was raised. I just was constantly scared to say things. But because, like you said, the way our parents grew up and how they were raised, my parents did not know how to even like recognize I need to sit down and see what's going on with Janelle in certain instances because I was so like there was just a shell for so long. But Erica brought up a really good point as far as listening to our kids and letting our kids say no. Me being a mom, I am very, very, very intentional about how I raise Zaire, but I'm also very quiet about it. When it comes to Zaire, I definitely feed off of what he's telling me. Zaire will say no. Zaire will say yes. My son is extremely polite. He'll say thank you. He'll say please. If he doesn't want to be bothered by someone, he's not going to be bothered. And I think that's where a lot of parents fail, I guess. I don't like saying people are failing at parents, but I do think that people have kids and they don't realize that their kids have emotions, that their kids feel things, and that your child isn't saying no just to make you mad. Literally, that's not what they're doing. When your child says, Jasmine sent me a great post, it was asking if it's appropriate to ask your kids if they're comfortable with having company over. And a lot of people were saying no. But when you swiped, it said, I asked my daughter and I found out that she wasn't comfortable with having my aunt over because the aunt was secretly slapping her.
Oh, wow.
Kids don't do stuff just to do it. There are so many things that we tell them, no, you're going to listen because I said so, but they're saying no for a reason. And like even my soon-to-be 2-year-old, if he says no, I'm going to get down to his level and I'm going to try to level with him in his talk, and he'll either end up saying yes or no. And depending on what it is, majority of the time he says no, I'll say okay. But we really need to listen to our kids because we chose to bring them into this world, and it is our duty to love them and respect them as well.
Agreed. Let me read this comment. Oh, I'm coming to you, Erica. I promise I'm coming to you. Let me read this comment because I think it's important because Mama Pam has responded to her child. And I think, and that's a beautiful response to me.
Don't yell at me.
No, it's a beautiful response, and I want to tell her thank you. I appreciate you being so candid and honest with it. She said, I think for myself, I'm doing better as a parent because I've learned more about my children. In my time, we repeated mostly how we were taught, and we can't blame you for that. We can't. But the fact that you're able to say that and be able to say I got some improvements to make. I think that's a beautiful thing, especially with your child having a child now. I think that's amazing. Sinise says the way children process or don't is definitely a residual product of how their parents were raised. It's also a product of their parents taking their trauma and turning it onto their children as disrespect or disinterest. And I definitely agree with that. Erica, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, I think some like more reasoning behind that, like what you kind of mentioned before, is that like we are all black kids too, you know, and I feel like our parents, like, there's a certain look for what a good black kid should behave like, and there's certain benefits that come from being a good black kid, a good black young girl, or a good black boy may save your life. Like, so I think we also have to keep that in mind too. Like, I think a lot of our parents are trying to raise us in a certain box and trying to like stifle our growth as individuals. They want us to be in the box of safety, you know, whether it's like job security by being a proper black person, or whether it's, you know, with the cops being presented as a proper black boy, whatever it is. Like, they kind of they also had that in the back of their head too when they're raising us, you know.
I got that too. Like, my dad would always say, "This, you do this, you do that," and I knew once I got older, it's like, it's because he was worried about what white folk would think about us, and how it would be perceived in a white circle. And I was in the IB program, so I had mostly white like friends, and luckily I left there because I was just unhappy. But it was just he knew I was going to be looked at a certain way. So before I even was aware of how I was going to be perceived, he was, because he had been through it already. So
I think the religion and race kind of is a backdrop for that. Like, the religion, you know, because being a good Christian looks like this, and race because being a good black person looks like this. I think that kind of like propelled that way of teaching and raising kids.
And
definitely.
Spare the rod.
Definitely.
What is it? Spare the rod, spoil the child. They took that too far. Too far.
Yeah, way too far.
Way too far. Like, just have a conversation.
Was it really like our parents raised us? Because I think about the way the church raised us. I mean, we could all say, I think majority of black kids could say, like, you see the threads and the comments and how we all had the same experiences. The thing that frustrated me about being raised in the black church was what they were talking about in church is not what was happening in real life.
In real life, yeah.
How to handle it. And fortunately, me and my family went to the same church for a long time. And my parents were getting a good word because it was for them. But I'm sitting there like, what? Y'all was doing what back in the day? Doing drugs, and y'all delivered from it? What? I was just trying to go to school tomorrow. I mean, my boyfriend at third period. What do you mean? Like,
not my boyfriend at third period.
And this, like you said, to be the black child, you know, they do want you to be. They're thinking about how white people perceive it, but that is detrimental too, because we, to a certain extent, grew up thinking we had to be better than them. That's why we're acting certain ways, doing certain things to our hair.
Code switch,
code switching.
Yes. Yeah. And, I'm sorry.
No, seriously, I was going to come to you because I was wondering, as someone who's a preacher's kid yourself, do you, and you can answer what you were about to answer, but so are you totally against spankings at this point, like the belt, the switch, whatever? I mean, I have the switch before.
I'm not going to say I'm totally against it, but I will say whenever, or even if, you know, that happens, it will definitely be used as a last resort, because I feel like with that, I don't want it to be like a knee-jerk reaction to, you know, whatever the situation is. And even going back to what you were saying, Marcus, like, it's so crazy how like both of our dads were like basically the same person. Like, the way he grew up in Jim Crow South. My dad grew up in Jim Crow South, small town in Alabama that's like 15-20 minutes outside of Birmingham, called Leeds, Alabama. I think the most famous person from it is like Charles Barkley. No, like, really, and we're cousins, but I digress. Yeah. But anyway, and I think what made it a little bit stronger for my dad is not only was he raised in Jim Crow South, but he was also part of the first class to integrate his high school, like the whites' high school. Because, you know, all the black kids went to one school and then the white kids went to the other school. So he was part of the first incoming class of black people to integrate the high school. So that just added on to another level, you know, of trauma. And so just like, as far as, I forgot who was saying, like, the covering, just offering more protection, like whenever we go out. And I remember him telling me, he was like, yeah, he said, don't be too buddy buddy with white people, as polite as they may be,
Mm-hmm.
as friendly as they are. Like even with my piano teacher, sweetest lady that you would have ever known, like sweetest lady, but he was like, yeah, well, I don't want to get too friendly because,
You
Yep.
and
still
I
black.
was always right. That's exactly
My
what
dad
he
would
said.
literally ask
Like
me if
that's
I.
exactly what he said.
My dad would literally
I
ask
love
me
it.
when I left my Nicholas, a white kid. He would literally ask me. I would stay over his house all the time, uh, and I would come back home. My dad would be like, "Did you eat? Did you get enough to eat? Like, are you okay?" He like just checking over me, like they were supposed to have done something to me. But it was that fear because he grew up like that, and he figured that, I got to take precautions. Like, did you get enough to eat? Did they give you this? Did they give you that? Did you take a bath? Like, just asking me little things that as a kid, I was like, why are you asking silly
And
questions?
you see how that tradition of anxiety and fear that your dad has in your heart. Now that's how they put in their teaching with us. Now we have anxiety and fear because of their fear and anxiety. It's just like passed down the generation.
All right,
Which is why I had to start counseling myself. So
Yeah, we gotta heal it somewhere.
we're gonna come to
Yeah.
Jasmine. We're gonna come to Jasmine with a question in a second, but I'm gonna read this a comment. I'm not totally against it, but I've have definitely made it a very last choice. We are not. We're doing our best to not further cause any trauma to the littles. So we do a lot of talking, processing, and consequences. So, Jasmine, you're a fun individual. You cut up when you gotta cut up. So my question to you is, you got spanked before as a child, right? You've been through that. You've been through that. Do you think you've turned out for the better because of that sometimes, or do you feel like you said before, that it could have been a conversation or whatnot? Do you think that it benefited you in any way?
In some aspects of my life, yes. In others, no. Because now I'm about to be 31 in a couple of days, and I'm still
Woo-hoo.
learning how to deal with my emotions because I've never really been able to express them. So it's very hard for me to do so. So like even to this day, like I talk to my mother literally every morning and every evening. But there's still some things that I cannot talk to her about. But I luckily have amazing friends where I can really just let that out, and I feel more comfortable pulling my emotions out with them than I do with my parents. But I mean, at the same token, like I deserved a couple of them ass whoopings. I will say that. I definitely did. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
before we started, I was telling y'all when I was younger, I was one of them kids, great grades, but Jasmine talks just a little bit too much. We have to
Me
get
too.
that under control.
Apparently, all the black girls.
Listen, but it was so bad to one point where my dad used to work midnights. The school woke him up out his sleep during the day because I got in trouble. He came to the school, took me into the principal's office bathroom, and whooped my ass. It sent me back to school. But I'll tell you this: like a year or two later, I was at a different school because the school that I went to was one of those schools where it was just pre-K to like first grade, and then we transitioned to another school. That school, I was a latchkey kid because my parents had different schedules. This one little boy got in trouble, and his mama came up there, told all of us to sit down, and whooped him
I had that
with
happen.
a ping pong paddle
I
in
don't
front
know
of
about
all of.
that.
She
Not
Forrest
just
Gumped him in
The
front of
shame
y'all.
and the abuse.
Listen, not just a regular ping pong paddle, but one that had the holes,
The holes in it.
So when you went back, it had
The
that
wind.
sound.
It caught
Yeah.
it caught the breath of God on the swing.
Listen,
No.
that was when I was
no,
thankful.
really.
But I
Yeah.
mean, like there were times where I got whoopings and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like I'll never forget. There was one time my little sister said shit, and of course, me being the little irritating little girl I was, I told on her, but
And
I
you got
didn't
this.
say shit. I spelled it.
They got open.
I got a whoop.
That was for snitching. You got that one for snitching. That's why you got that.
Uh-oh.
Let me read these
Definitely.
comments. I'm gonna come to you with a question, Erica, because I'm curious about something. But I'm gonna come to you in a second. But Sydney said these kids are definitely afraid of a belt, but their whole world crashes if we take away stuffed animals, books, because we're teaching them the importance of not losing luxury. And then Phil says, yeah, my nephews go crazy when my brother turns off their Wi-Fi. And then Cindy says, not out his sleep, Jasmine, you were trying to die. So Erica, question for you, since your parents got a divorce. Because of that divorce, did they discipline you in different ways, or did they try to raise you differently than each other, any pitting against each other, or was it cooperative but just different?
What's so crazy is I tell my dad about this all the time, is that like, as different as my parents are, like they needed to get divorced. They wouldn't have worked out in marriage, but they raised me and my sister with the same values, morals, and like standards in two separate houses. Not even on purpose. They just like had the same idea about things. Like when I tell my mom stuff my dad says and vice versa, they're surprised because they were on the same page. So that is one thing. Even my dad, like he's not really in the church, or he's saved, but not saved. And my mom, she actually
backslid.
Yeah, exactly. So his thought process and things that he does is different than my mom. But the way they raise us is very similar. So actually, no, it's about the same.
That's really
got
good.
in trouble for the same
That's
thing.
good.
Both households, yeah. I will say if I would have grew up with my dad, I'm sure I would have been a little more wild though than my mom. But for the most part, they were similar.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I will say, like I said in the beginning, for if there's any parents watching, if Mama Pam hasn't left and cancel her subscription to the Man Cave, we love you, we do. It's just, I feel like people don't understand it now. I'm in that weird part where I'm the adult now in life, and so there's little kids around me at times, and I'd realize I'm the adult. Kids understand a lot more than you think. And I learned that with my little cousin Aria. Like, she would be crying and carrying on, and that whole "I'm gonna give you something to cry about." That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Like, they're already crying. Like, they're already upset in some shape, way, or form. So you're gonna give them something more to cry about because they're crying.
They just be annoyed. So
it's annoying. I know, and I get it's an annoying phrase, but that kind of stuff. Words have power, and that kind of little trauma you can put on them is like, wow, I can't even express myself without being threatened again for expressing that I'm upset. Like,
Listen.
I remember.
Yeah, I've always hated that phrase.
I remember my baby cousin. Well, she was a baby. She's like 11 now, though. She was crying, like going crazy one night, just crying, and everybody's getting mad and like, oh, what she got? She just cried. She just carrying on for no reason. And so I knew I could never spank her. Like I'm a softie when it comes to the girls. I can't do it. So I got down to her level. And she had been making me look stupid. She made me fall in the liquor store. She been making me look stupid all day. And I finally get down on her level, and I'm like, look, I was in the liquor store. It was a wet floor sign. She went off running around the wine, and it was all glass, and I was scared she was going to knock something over. I didn't see the wet floor sign. So when I turned the corner, I just went sliding down the aisle, and she was just standing in the corner. Like, so she just literally watched me fly down the aisle. Everybody in the store laughs, whatever. But anyway, I got down on her level. I'm like, girl, what's going on with you today? Why are you acting ridiculous? And she literally just looked at me and said, because I know you're going home. And I'm just like, so you acting out for attention just because you know I'm going to leave, so you're trying to get all the time with me that you can get by acting out? Like, I thought you had to say something. Just get up on my lap. Let's watch TV. Like, you're doing too much. And then she's just like, okay. And then we had to watch Doc McStuffins for like 3 hours. Like, sometimes it's just a conversation. Like, that's all it takes. And that's all I'm saying. We don't like Doc McStuffins?
Not in this house, no.
Oh,
why?
Why? What's wrong with Doc McStuffins?
We watch old stuff here. We don't watch new stuff. Ain't no Coco Melon or Paw Patrol. We don't do that.
Yeah, Barney and
but Doc McStuffins.
Street, Looney Tunes, Elmo, we jam. NBA, US NBA season, Zaire already know what's up.
I'm glad Caillou is gone, though. That was the worst show I think that ever existed. But anyway, on to the next topic so we can get everybody out of here. Oh, let me read Phil's thing. Being connected to the interwebs allows us to have access to much more information. Makes me wonder if I would have grown up differently with all the access that's available now. My dad didn't know how to use daggone computer, so it wouldn't have mattered for me. he would have told me to come
My
get
dad
the
didn't
pass
start
first.
doing drive-through until like college.
Mama drive. My dad didn't like the
Drive through
drive through
what?
either.
Like no, well I'm slicing it, but at least in high school, like definitely
Yeah.
up until high school, no. My dad always was certain. He said, "I want to see the people make my
Yep.
food." So like
Yep.
he would not do
Listen,
That's
drive-through.
hilarious.
I kid
Like
you not.
I was grown. Like it had to been like junior or senior year of high school or like freshman year in college.
Mhm.
And he went through the drive-through at Milo's, is a restaurant back home. And I was shook. Like I paused for like a strong like 3-4 seconds. He was like, what did you want to eat?
Listen,
It's a trick.
My
but
Right.
to this day, I swear, my daddy refuses to go through the drive-through at Popeyes. Cause he swear they giving you old chicken. He want to be right there looking at them as they dump that fresh chicken onto the
Hilarious.
counter.
No,
Like,
that's
oh my
understandable.
God.
That's
He
understandable.
was sitting there for 20 some odd minutes. And we like, bro, we hungry. Where are you?
Hilarious.
my dad's rule was if it for the drive through was if there's 4 or more, I go through the door. And he would say it every time. So if there was 4 cars in the drive through,
It's the rhyming. That's
Yeah.
the second time he's rhyming.
he would get out the car and go in, and we'd just be sitting there like. And he had to see them make them food. I need to see them make it. Make sure they make it right. It'll save me time from having to pull over and go back inside anyway when they make it wrong. I'm like, if you know they're making it wrong.
That actually kind of makes sense though.
Yes.
No, it doesn't. When you just trying to get home from church and he got to stop. Anyway, that's trauma for another day. But Sanice
Right.
says, yes, Marcus, communication and listening is top tier when it comes to processing little people. Yeah, but sometimes them little people just need a nap too. Sometimes they just need a nap. And a little
Me
bit of clear
too.
Benadryl, boy. Do it every time.
I mean, listen,
Listen.
I still need a nap. Okay, when I feel
Hello.
like things
Thank
are
you.
going away, I'm like, I'm just gonna go lay down because I'm not gonna do this with myself today.
All right, so let's go to our last topic of the night because it was pretty interesting. HU versus HI happened last weekend, was it? Yeah. So the Howard University versus the Institute game happened, and apparently there's some shenanigans with the band director from Hampton, and then the band director from Howard, and then the school, and then
Let me get myself together for this.
And
one,
then in
'cause,
Hampton's little dusty ass cheerleaders.
here we go. So
Would never
people who
happen.
go to HBCUs are a proud bunch. Regardless of whatever HBCU you go to, you rep it hard. You know, you're going to say it's the best, whatever. We know the real truth. But we're not going to talk about that here tonight. We're here to talk about just the beef and what happened and how, you know, are we concerned for the state of HBCUs with this happening? Because if we're not our own biggest supporters and cheerleaders, I mean, who's going to be when everything else is against us? So I'm gonna let Janelle go because you brought this topic into the show tonight. So tell us.
I don't think we have to worry about the state of HBCUs, but I do think that, and I said this before, I'm not trying to condone fighting, y'all, because I don't. I'm not trying to condone fighting. I'm a mother. I can't do that. But I put myself back when we was playing. Was it NCCU?
it was Central at the
It was
basketball
Central.
game.
I knew what I was talking about. To witness another school disrespect my fellow student, my friend, like that, just sitting there it wasn't an option. It was not an option. They were just, and I was saying, like, you know, it's a big thing in the HBCU community, but then I did compare it to a PWI. There are traditions and things that all schools do. Now, I remember when I went to an Ohio State game, they stand the entire game. From beginning to the very end, they stand.
I paid for
You're
seats.
not.
I paid
They
for
stand.
seats.
Hmm?
I paid for seats. Why am I standing?
Well, everyone stands. I was really befuddled. Like, I'm tired. But if you don't sit down, they're going to say something to you because it's disrespectful to their tradition. That is their tradition. Everyone that knows you don't ever cut nobody's line. You don't. Whether it's your rivalry, I don't care who it is. You just don't do it. And that cheerleader has some guts because I know Ebony and them, it would.
Oh no, it wouldn't have gone down like that. No, like
It would
they would have been
have.
talking to them.
Listen,
They
it
would
would
have
have
been
been
talking
chitty
to
chitty
them.
bang bang on that field, okay? And then the band
Right.
would have played Head Busters about 17 times.
Please not. The tuba
That
break was
night
way
was
too
lit
long.
though.
Lit.
It was a great
We
evening.
was so hyped that night.
I wanted to make was regarding the band director.
Oh, I
I
want to talk about that too.
I do worry about the state of HBCUs when adults, administration, those who are supposed to be better than that, decide to go to social media and start mess. You're an adult. You have students and you have people that look up to you, whether you want to be a leader or whether a leader or not. You're in that position, and to call out another band over some water on social media is pathetic.
You
And
ever,
you should have got the Dusty Grape too. Can we get a Dusty Grape Jr. to Howard? Not Howard.
The Hamptons, yes, absolutely. Dusty, yep.
Grape Jr.
Yep,
Ooh, can you
absolutely.
tag? Can you tag team? Can I be tag team?
go ahead. But hold on. But when you talk about water, I'm just gonna say, if you played a tuba break, you know how important water can be. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Go ahead, Steve.
But no, yeah, but you know, besides the whole water thing, just to hit people to like HBCU band culture, you're supposed to already have your own supplies in the first place. Number one. Number two, we weren't even at home. We weren't even on our home field. So
Not
we
that.
have to no, but so we have to abide by we have to abide by the guidelines and the standards of whatever venue that we're in. Now, if we were at Howard, you know, granted you still have to bring your own stuff, but you know, of course we would have been a little bit more hospitable because you know, sometimes when we have visiting bands, we are getting dressed in the same building. We're eating in the same place. So where it's not like we're just gonna completely, you know, like shut them out or whatever. But as far as like those kind of regulations, as far as like refreshments or like food or meals or whatever, that's not up to us. Like in technical sense, both of us were visiting teams. We just happened to be home because it's DC. So
But when have we ever?
I wanna,
Never.
and
let me
and
read
that's
this
why I'm going
comment. Let
back.
me read this comment by Phil. And I want to say something about it too. Janelle said, Phil said, Janelle, you made a really good point on your IG. HBCUs are getting more attention and more attention, and this type of action draws the wrong type of attention. This is what I want to say to that. First of all, I want to give a round of applause, so I can use this applause effect because Janelle says I don't use it enough, to Deion Sanders. Excuse me, Coach Deion Sanders, because he needs the proper respect that his title deserves. This man is putting HBCUs on the map just by being who he is. More air. We've already received HBCUs have received more airtime on national television than they have in the last 5 seasons combined. It's ridiculous. The fact that he's questioning HBCU policies, were like names on the back of jersey, just simple stuff that they swear they can't pay for. And the fact that he's calling all of this out while coaching a team, like ridiculous. And he's taking
kudos.
and what people don't realize,
Absolutely love it.
doing what he's doing, he's taking a pay cut because USC has been trying to get this man to come be their coach. For like they just dropped their head coach and they're begging him to come. And this man is sticking by his promise to these young black boys and staying there. So that type of attention is exactly what we need. This is what we're seeing. It's petty as hell. And it's like it's just
But
go.
here's the thing. What do you expect from Hampton University?
Oh
To be
Lord.
quite honest, because literally, like, I know, so I have a few people, a couple of frat brothers, like, they cool, whatever. We joke about
Cool, whatever.
Hampton versus Howard. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the majority of the people that I encounter from Hampton University are shitty ass people. They always have something to say. They always stand on this high horse as if they belong there. But like, and then like, so a friend of a friend, I've never really too much cared for her. Her attitude sucks. She don't keep her house clean, and she always trying to act like she above people.
She don't keep her house clean.
She don't keep her house
That's
clean.
another story for another day.
Speak.
But recently, I've known this girl for years because she is a friend of a friend. She's just trifling. And I recently found out that she went to Hampton University, and I was like, oh, well, that makes total fucking sense.
Jasmine. Lord.
Sorry for my language, but it
no.
makes total sense.
Yikes. And the Shade Award goes to...
I just never encountered people.
And the Drag Award goes to.
Do y'all remember in 2009 they ran through the band with the flag?
Yeah. It's irritating. And I'll never forget. I was still working at Apple.
Hold on. I don't want to stop. Did you say Alpo? But anyway,
Apple.
I thought you said you were working for Alpo.
It's still an HUHI situation.
Hold on. I'm gonna give it to you. Let me read this comment real quick. Good. Arthur asked, and I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk to it, and then you can finish. But can somebody tell the actual story of what happened? So go ahead.
What story?
Are we talking about the cheerleader or are we talking about the band directors? I guess we can talk about both. The Hampton cheerleaders decided they were going to do a routine through the ranks of...
So the cheerleaders, because I was actually there when it happened. Yeah. So this happened like shortly after halftime. And so like the Hampton was on one side, Howard was on the other side, and they met in the middle. And they just so happened to be on the side where the band was. So, they have their usual cheer off or whatever. So they're doing it, blah, blah, blah. Howard does their thing. And then Hampton does their thing. And then they started to like inch closer and closer and closer to Howard's cheerleaders. And one of them, she just breaks their rank. She passes through the first line of girls, passes through like the second line of girls. She's like almost like, she's like in their formation, and I think like a couple of other girls follow suit. I mean, our cheerleaders didn't do anything about it, but they were like still doing their cheer while everything was going on. And so of course we was getting hype in the stands and all that kind of thing. And then after that, they take their little unity picture or whatever. So that's basically like the whole the gist of what happened with it.
And
happened there.
Sani said, and we took their flag and kept it just to snatch that thing up. But here's my question. Had you as an adult, you have to keep your house clean. That's funny.
No, that was a word.
Here's my question. So say, because this was televised. This game was televised. So had Howard responded and gave that girl what she had deserved, I feel like we know what the narrative would have been.
Howard's the best.
So my question is, what were they supposed to do? I mean, I think they wanted to do exactly what we're talking about now. But imagine
I didn't know
they would be sitting for the rest of the year.
Honestly.
They would be sitting for the rest of the year had they done what they wanted to do.
Low
Erica,
key.
I have a
I didn't
question
know it was televised.
I have a question for Erica, because you didn't attend an HBCU, right? So I was just wondering, and this is not, first of all, no shout out to PWI. I'm attending one right now, so nothing like that. But did you ever wish that you had gone to an HBCU by any chance, or definitely, and why?
No, I definitely do. I
definitely don't. I would say, dang.
No, I definitely do. One of my cousins went to Howard, and he talked about it all the time growing up. But like, I was a first generation college graduate, so like, I didn't really know what I was getting into when I applied to schools. But looking back now, like, I think I would have really appreciated growing up or going through that experience, especially as a STEM major, surrounded by my people versus the extra. Not against two people out there with the extra drama and the trauma that comes going into PWI.
Go ahead, first generation.
I feel that. Yeah, definitely a topic we're gonna bring up later. But I do feel that, like, I know for me, I wouldn't have been able to just stand there and watch it. But I will never forget when Brent got me in trouble, because a certain band director was letting us get cranked on by a tuba section at NCCU.
Was it Phil?
No. No, don't do that.
Mr. Ice Cream Man.
They were playing.
He gonna say something in the comments. He gonna be so mad. We love you, Phil.
So they were playing fanfares and everything. And I think we were there for a high school competition or something. I can't remember what we were there for, 2011. But anyway, their tubas turn and they just start going. They just start going. And y'all know Brent. Brent's not going to take that. So we
Right.
start playing. Certain band director says, shut that mess up. Go get on the bus. So, you know, I'm freshman. I'm taking my little happy self. Well, let's go and get on the bus then. I guess we ain't going to do it. Brent grabs me by my collar, and Brent big, and he forgot I was light. So my tuba is basically like half the weight I was at the time. So the forward momentum almost
No,
drug
but
me
really
to the
though.
ground. And so he's like, no, we're going to get in the back of the line. We're not going to go down like this. I'm like, man, go down. We about to go get on the bus, man. What you talking about? So we get off to the street. Brent gets all the tubas together, and he's like, all right, stand right here. He just turns around and starts facing the stadium. I'm like, what the hell? And I
remember that.
see Truck look at me. Like, I met eyes with him because he like, this young dude don't know. And I'm like, bruh, what are we supposed to do? And he just smiled and turned around and kept walking. Other band director starts yelling. Brent starts counting it off, and we just start going. Just start playing, rocking and everything. While he's yelling at us to get on the bus. And he's like this close to Brent, just yelling and get on the bus. And like, we played like two fanfares and we had to get on the bus. But I'd never been so scared in my life about what's going to happen because he pulled us all in his office and he went in on us. But I felt better after it though, because I mean, like, that's total disrespect. Like, we can have competition against each other and everything, but there's a certain point where you just can't let nobody disrespect you like that. I feel like something should have been done, or at least the directors, the cheerleading coordinator, whatever they got, should have been involved with that and been like, hey, you going too far or something. It just felt bad. Steven, you had something to say?
Me.
No, it was Janelle, then me. Yeah.
Oh, Janelle. Okay, go ahead.
You had asked Marcus what we thought they should have done. And to be honest, that's a hard question. I know what would have done had it been us, but for me, it was the fact that it happened in general. It was the fact that a group of young Black women thought it would be cute to disrespect another group of young Black women, even though this may sound petty and not even important at all, but it's important in the HBCU world, and they knew that. There are ways to like be catty with each other without being disrespectful, and at some point, we really need to understand the difference. Like,
yeah,
I think it was necessary.
Hampton doesn't know the difference.
Lula says, I didn't.
Hampton girl. That was great. That
Lula
was
says,
golden.
I didn't. I went to a mixed university and I felt I had a mixed experience still, but wasn't bad. I still feel I know my people even more.
What is a university? What is the percentage of
to be mixed?
What is a mix? Is it like half
so
white and half minorities?
What is a mixed university? Please tell us what you mean by mixed university. Sinise says, I'm not sure why you even looked at Truck, because that's some stuff Truck would do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we already know Truck plays too, but anyway, so he wasn't gonna say nothing in the first place. So.
Never.
I thought I was just trying to get. I mean, you got a band director yelling at me, telling me not to play. Like literally looking at it and saying, you better not put your mouth on it. And then you got one dude counting it off. I had to pick, where my loyalties were, and one of them can put me in, can hurt me at practice. The other one really won't worried about me. So I went with what I knew.
But
especially
no,
when it came to giving me my scholarship money. But anyway,
to that question, I didn't even know the game was televised. First off, so I just went for what I would have done in that situation. But now that I know it was televised, and now just thinking back, I'm glad that we took the higher road with that, because if we didn't, it kind of goes back to what was said before about HBCUs gotta sticking together and be sure that we're not tearing us down. Because if something would have like really popped off for real, that gives the others. That just adds fuel to the fire. I'm like, okay, well, we don't have to talk trash about them, or talk down about them, because they doing it to their own selves. So we just gonna chill and watch, fall back and just let it play out for itself. So yeah.
I mean, Howard already gets so much flack just because we're Howard. It is what it is. People are going to constantly put Howard in the conversation when we're nowhere in the conversation. Like even the last schools that got some money. For some reason, Howard was still in the conversation, but Howard was not on the list of schools that got money. No matter what, Howard is going to receive hate. Howard. And to this day, I don't understand why. Like, it's like, if you couldn't get in, just say
that. Erica, question for you, Question for you. You said that there's a point where you kind of wish you had attended a HBCU. Did you have a certain one in mind that you might have wanted to attend, or is it just the experience?
Well, what's funny is it would have been Howard. I have a cousin that went there, like a older cousin. He went to Howard one his long time ago, back in the day, and he always talked about how it was a good school. But I didn't grow up with him, so I didn't really, I don't think. I wish I would have known more back then. But yeah, it would have been Howard. That's the only one I really knew about growing up was Howard.
Yeah, and it's a prevalent one, but I really hope what Deion Sanders is trying to do comes true, because if you're not aware, he's trying to get rid of like the conferences and restructure everything because of how the MEAC is and the SWAC. Like the football band powerhouses are kind of down there, and then you have the I'll say the intellectual schools in the MEAC. I shouldn't say intellectual. All schools are intellectual.
Oh, and Meharry. Yeah,
I mean, you can say that because we're always at the top 10.
Yeah. And so he's trying to kind of clear that up so more schools compete against more people, and so the schools think about like a Fisk can get more recognition, with a Howard, and try to get the smaller schools to kind of play the bigger schools so they can get known. Like a Arkansas Pine Bluff can play, like a Morehouse or something like that. So the other ones are recognized, because to be fair, Howard is not the only HBCU. Hampton's not the only HBCU. North Carolina A&T. They have big shadows, and sometimes we forget about the little ones. So he's kind of trying to bring everybody up with him, and I think that's amazing. And I think he deserves a lot more credit than he's getting.
Did y'all all go to
Fisk
Howard?
is actually a really good school.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It wasn't Fisk the first HBCU?
Yep.
No, it was Lincoln University in Pennsylvania.
Was it Lincoln?
Lincoln?
Yeah.
Was it? Let's do some.
Yeah, it was. I think it was. Yeah.
I almost went to Fisk, but they were up for accreditation, so I was like,
I think it was Lincoln and PA. I might be wrong. I know it wasn't Fisk.
Cheney.
It was Cheney.
Yeah.
Cheney.
Another school I heard a lot about growing up is Clark Atlanta. Do y'all have?
Yep. I wanted to go to Clark when I was in high school, but they also had lost their accreditation for a little bit, and so my daddy was like,
I almost
Same with
went
Morris
to
Brown
too, but only because of their music program, because the Fish Jubilee singers sing.
I was going. Listen, I did a whole audition and everything. I got in. I was going to be a Jubilee singer, and then because
they sing. They sing.
You know what's crazy?
I wanted to
HBCU talked about enough in high school or middle school.
No.
Yeah.
I had teachers who attended HBCU, so luckily they made sure everybody knew. But the school I wanted to attend was Atlanta A&T University, but it just didn't. It didn't work out the way
it didn't exist.
It didn't.
It doesn't exist.
It didn't work out the way I wanted it to.
Because it doesn't exist.
It
doesn't exist. It's not a real
school. That's a school from Drumline.
Market.
Oh.
It's a made up school.
Can we talk about how that movie is a good and bad thing for HBCUs?
Okay, so let me
It's a terrible movie to watch, but every time it's on TV, you just have to watch it.
But it did so much for bands, though. It did a lot.
It did a lot for bands, but I'll tell you this: I was mad because I was like, because it came out before we went to college, so I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to Howard, so this must be what the band gonna be like. No.
And you put on them hand-me-down uniforms with the crotch sewed in 3 times. Yep.
Listen.
Yep.
Ugh.
I had safety pins in mine.
Y'all always in bands together too?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus trying to march with Nick Cannon. Boy, I had that strict. I ain't got to read music either. Yeah, try that.
Oh my gosh.
Try that one.
Well,
freshman play. Anyway, but yeah, I feel like that movie was helpful and hurtful. But no, Howard was my only choice, because my dad went to Howard, so it's kind of like, you can not go to Howard, but you won't be living here no more. So it was like, okay, cool. I guess I'm going to Howard. So.
Did all y'all parents go to HBCUs too?
No.
Mm-mm.
My parents went to Michigan State. The only reason I knew about Howard was because my auntie went to Howard. So we're the only two that went to school like that. Yeah.
Yeah, my parents met in college. They went to this. It's a smaller school called Birmingham Southern College. So they met there, and I knew about Howard because similar to what your situation is, I had an older cousin who went to Howard. Her aunt. So basically, I have a Howard family. Like my cousin went to Howard. Her aunt and uncle went to Howard. I have cousins on my dad's side that went to Howard. I went to Howard. Sister went to Howard Law School.
Yes.
Um,
Her sister is actually his real sister. He calls her.
Yeah.
His hard sister.
Yes, I call her sister and she calls me brother. So yeah.
That's adorable.
And yeah, so I have a Howard family. So that's how I found. And plus, that was I needed to get out of Alabama. I needed to get out of Alabama, and I wanted to go in HBCU, and I wanted to go somewhere that was far enough, but I still knew people in the area. So
Yeah.
that was
I
how.
love the Alabama accent.
It's like take Raw's accent and then like make it even country. And then
Alicia's accent is so cute.
it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And you know what? I embrace my Southern drawl. I used to didn't like it, and I used to be ashamed of it, but I'm not. So I take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Well, it's like it's like, you know how English people have the English accent, whatever. It sounds like very decent. That's how the Southern accent sounds. It sounds very decent, like it's like a decent person with the accent.
Oh yay! I am a decent person, regardless of what Jasmine and Janelle say.
We didn't even say nothing.
Let me read. Let me read these comments before we get off for the night. Let me read these comments.
Oh
Let
my
me read
God.
these comments. Sunny says,
I family that went to an HBCU.
"I love this comment. I love this comment by Sunny."
Go.
She says, "The downside of us being Howard is similar to being a PK. We gotta be and do better, while allowing others to clown and react with grace. When we really need to lay some people out and make an example." And I agree with that. She says, "I only learned about HBCUs
That was
because
good.
I literally got put on a college tour bus list 3 hours before the trip has started. Look at God." Christina says, "I still want to go to Hillman."
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Thanks.
No, low key.
Um,
Low key.
Mama Pam said, "I love the band. We loved you too." And Chris, she was just responding to Christina. But no, I think HBCUs now are getting, a lot of airtime, which is great. I would still like us to be able to be taken seriously in sports, but I think a big issue too is the misappropriation of funds at HBCUs is absolutely ridiculous and needs to be addressed. And I'm glad that again, Coach Prime Time is shining a light on it, because it's ridiculous how these schools got all this money. Like what got me was like watching the football team lose, watching the band not have proper uniforms for so long, but watching how much money they could pull out for like homecoming festivities and stuff like that. It's like, so y'all can get this stuff, y'all can get all this Apple stuff for the tech, but y'all can't give people proper uniforms to march in. Y'all can't. There's just so many simple little things. And the A building was absolutely trash. I don't even want to talk about that. But it's like the experience.
That's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It is, and it just seems like those things are so much more highlighted at HBCUs than their actual worth in their communities and whatnot. And so I would never trade. Yeah, it's because we're black, but I would never trade that experience ever, because I wouldn't have met Janelle. I've been her hype guy, and I would have never met Jasmine. But I didn't think Jasmine liked me. But that's a story for another time, and I'll tell that story. You yelled at me for no reason.
I did.
You yelled at me for something Nevlin did. It wasn't me.
I do.
You yelled at me for something Nevlin did. But when you turned around, I was standing there, and you let me have it, and I was like, dang.
I don't recollect that.
Oh, yeah.
Sure
it
was.
happened. No, it was her.
No, Toby was like way before his time. Toby was way before his time.
But first of all, Toby was mean as hell to us. Okay.
She wasn't mean to me. Let's set the record straight. Toby was not mean to me.
Yo, we'll have to do an episode. We'll have to do an episode where I'll get off the feed and just let a whole bunch of band people come on here, and y'all can tell all y'all crazy stories. for a day.
No, because then we airing out a whole bunch of stuff that don't need to be public knowledge. Okay.
Child.
As I end the show, I want to say congratulations to the world. R. Kelly has been convicted of
Amen.
you know,
All of his
trafficking, racketeering. What else did he get charged with? Being just an awful human being.
Yes.
So I wouldn't even call him
Yeah,
human.
child molester.
That's not human. Phil said, "Don't worry, Janelle popped off on me in front of the band." Phil,
Oh my
a story for another time.
I remember
Story
that.
for
I
another
remember
time.
that.
But also,
We just need to have a whole episode about
I'm gonna make like
our
an 8
experiences
box.
at Howard.
I'm gonna make an 8 box. I want to thank everybody for coming today, bearing with us through the technical difficulties. You guys switched over to YouTube like it was nothing, and y'all just started commenting. So I really appreciate that. It's great to see that there's an appetite for what we do here, and I appreciate that. I want to thank Erica for being here, for coming back. She's been hanging in there, being the substitute. She's just been a part of the family, so I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Jasmine, your hair, like, just
yeah,
can we see the back of it?
yeah. Let's get that scout. Get that scout.
Look
all
at
the way
that.
around. Yes.
Y'all look at
all
that.
the way around.
Yes, cute.
Look at that.
Hey, Locks.
Mm,
Thank you for joining us, Locks. We greatly appreciate
amazing.
Could have left Jasmine at
Absolutely.
home. All we wanted was you.
it. Right.
Rude. Rude.
Hey DB, thanks for coming to watch today. I appreciate it. But no, I appreciate you guys. It's hard doing a live show, so things go wrong sometimes. But to know that you guys actually, will stick with me, it means a lot. Next week, I just want to give a shout out for next week. Next week will be our 20th episode. Can't believe it. 20 episodes. Lula says, we love you, Erica. So 20 episodes. So it's been what is 20?
Love you,
What,
Lula.
5 months? 5 months doing this. And you guys have stuck with me, and so I've loved watching the fan page grow. I've loved the stupid conversations we have on there. I enjoy doing this every week. So definitely want to see you next week for the 20th episode. We have some spicy conversation for that already in the works. But as I always say, he said I was on Facebook. I'm sorry, we must have missed that. I'll have to go back, but I'll promise to go read that, your comments. I'm sorry. I try to get to everybody's comments. Thank you for saying it was a great pod. I appreciate that. How do you subscribe? So just go on. So if you want to follow us on YouTube, so search Marcus in the Man Cave on YouTube, as you see at the bottom of your screen, and then you will hit the little bell icon and click it, and then click it again, because it's one for notifications and one for actually subscribing. So make sure you hit it twice so you get notified whenever we go live. Jasmine says, thanks, Mom. I guess that was to Mama Pam. Oh, she loves your hair. Okay.
She said
but
she loved my hair.
definitely, if you have not followed us yet on Instagram, please do. We have Ladies Night coming up in October. I know y'all loved Ladies Night last time, so Janelle gets to kick me off, and she gets to do whatever she wants to do.
And I'll be back. Woo!
Is that a thing? Oh, okay, cool. I didn't.
I'll be back. I'm on the roster for that show.
Oh, you're on the roster. I have to get the payroll in order.
Not on
Okay.
the roster.
I want to thank Steven for being here tonight, because you didn't have to be here, and you just said like, oh, I'm down to be on whenever you want me on, and it's nice because I be getting
Have to be here, Steven.
I be getting taken out by these ladies lately, so it's nice to have another guy.
You know, I got your follow up or whatever.
I-
Stamp on everything, man.
I appreciate it. So with that said, we're going into another week of work. If you find it in your hearts this week, like I say, definitely check on somebody, call somebody. Everybody's going through something, and you never know how just your little kind word can change someone's day. Except for Trevor, because I'm seeing that his Eagles are losing right now, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Oh no.
I bet he won't be wearing all black tonight. He gonna be hurt. So I'll see y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Same time, same place. God bless you all. Have a wonderful night. Peace.
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
My love.